Marsconsolegamer. Yes, my fellow troopers. Update 1.5 for Starship Troopers Extermination is out now, and it is huge. Here are the 1.5 patch notes of June 23rd for consoles and PC. This patch is a collection of content, performance, optimization improvements, and bug fixes. If you'd like to discuss Update 1.5 with your fellow troopers, please feel free to join the Starship Troopers Extermination Community Discord. 16-player Hive Hunt. The arachnid menace and their escalating ferocity in defending their nurseries has forced the Federation to escalate our own response. To meet this new threat head-on, the Deep Space Vanguard has approved the immediate deployment of 16 troopers for all Hive Hunt missions. And to support this new aggressive deployment strategy, the Federation has simultaneously rolled out the brand new Timer-Operated Atomic Device Canisters, or TOAD canisters. The personal det packs have been replaced with the nearly as portable TOAD canisters. These nuclear payloads now require a heroic trooper to carry and manually place them on an arachnid hive cores to permanently destroy the hive structure. Additional troopers will be required to escort the dedicated nuke carriers into the hive. Hive Hunt has been converted from 4 players to 16 players. Hive destruction requires the escorting of TOAD canisters into the hives. The Morita 2. Federation scientists are happy to report the arrival of the much-anticipated successor to the Morita rifle, the Morita 2. With its many quirks and futuristic aesthetics, the Deep Space Vanguard is happy to begin field testing of this brand-new prototype weapon. In its standard configuration, the Morita 2 is a powerful burst-fire rifle with an explosive underbarrel grenade launcher. With its extended range of weapon modifications, the Morita 2 can be customized for any combat situation, allowing each class to customize their weapon to their liking. Use the fully automatic modification to change the controlled burst fire into a flurry of caseless bullet fire, or equip the experimental plasma launcher to vaporize tigers into mist. This new weapon will be available to all classes upon reaching level 16. Happy hunting, troopers. Stinging Fury. Unleash a bold new look with the new Stinging Fury Supporter Pack, a new addition to the Federation cosmetic lineup. Available to purchase with Update 1.5, this pack lets troopers customize their gear with a striking new palette for their weapons, armor, and visors. It also includes a unique profile banner and icon to complete your battlefield presence. Horde Mode. Rounds are now timer-based and not dependent on number of bugs killed. Quick player filtering. Matches can now be filtered via mission type and difficulty. Galactic Front updates. Intel has been removed as a company ops purchase currency. A selection of company ops will always be available whenever a Galactic Front is active. The selection will change on a 6-hour rotation. For PC and Steam Deck, virtual keyboard input fixes, Steam Deck increased font sizing, upscaler upgrades, DLSS 4, FSR v3.13a, FF4 on supported cards, Ultra Dynamic Sky, X11 Dynamic Sky added, quality of life. Spotlights have been adjusted to support interactions with more engineer perks and utilities. The Reinforced Repairs perk now provides additional blue health to the spotlights and allows them to continue operating even when damaged. The Overcharge module can now overcharge the spotlights and temporarily boost the light intensity. Spotlights can now be reinforced. Spotlights can now be overcharged. Resource Canisters. Troopers carrying a resource canister will now have an icon displayed on the TAC map and on the HUD. Sky Marshal and Rico visual update. We've changed the static images of Sky Marshal and Rico to animated video sequences. Using our original character images and voiceover files, we leveraged AI-powered facial animation and lip sync technology to closely match their spoken performances. Armory tuning. Morita XXX. The premier anti-Tiger sniper rifle is receiving a few new weapon modifications to assist troopers in their fight against the bugs. The explosive rounds modification replaces the standard anti-material ammo with a high explosive charge. more effective against unarmored bugs in tight groups with a devastating impact against weak points. And the short scope modification provides the more CQC-focused snipers with a short-ranged sight that provides modestly improved handling and reduced sway. Added short scope sight mod at level 6. Added explosive rounds ammo mod at level 8. TU2 shotgun. The slug variant of these PET was less flexible than other shotguns. New weapon modifications are being issued to provide new opportunities for rangers to customize their slug-slinging antics. The heavy slugs modification uses heavier ammunition for increased damage at the expense of accuracy and armor penetration. And the short scope provides an improved sight for mid-range pseudo-sniping if that opportunity presents itself. Added heavy slugs ammo mod at level 7. Added short scope 2.5x sight mod at level 8. FU-17 flamethrower. The trusty flamethrower can be a situational weapon depending on the types of targets encountered. To better highlight these strengths and weaknesses, we've improved the weapon's hitmarker feedback. In addition, we've provided a few improvements to the FU-17's overall usability with improved consistency and increased reserve ammo. Added hit markers. Critical hit markers will display when dealing additional damage or hitting a friendly trooper, and resist hit markers will display when dealing less damage or no damage. Flames now pierce through bugs in the area of effect. Slowing effect now applies to fire warriors and inferno bugs. Ammo increased from 300 to 400. Speed Stim Fabricator. The Federation has replaced the current speed stims with a more potent cocktail. Each individual stim will now provide a larger movement speed boost that lasts longer. However, the effect can no longer be stacked multiple times to increase the effectiveness. Movement speed boost increased from 15% to 30%. Duration increased from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. Effect no longer stacks. Has a new visual effect while speed boosted. Lure grenades. Bugs will now have reduced targeting against lure grenades. While some scientists suggest this could be an example of bugs adapting to our tactics, other scientists suggest the suggestion that a bug can learn is offensive. We are making a minor adjustment to lure grenades because they were already individually effective, but when combined with the Demolisher's barrage, they could be used to easily control entire hordes of bugs. Targeting priority reduced. Max number of attracted bugs reduced from 10 to 4. Nuke Det Pack. With the reduction in lure grenades' effectiveness, we wanted to provide demolishers with new methods for defensive crowd control and allow the nukes to be used in situational offensive actions. Deployed nuke dit packs will now attract nearby bugs. Minimum damage increased from 750 to 1100. Known issues. Underbarrel reloads have missing visuals due to LOD issue when using low settings on PC. UI issue when switching weapons. Mods will still show as applied when they are not. Entering a MG emplacement when charging the plasma underbarrel might break the primary firing sound. Engineers that die with a canister on their back have a permanent icon in the 6th slot. Highlights. Chat messages no longer appear as muted after unmuting players. The DXG error device hung crash on Intel ARC cards has been resolved. Fixed an issue that allowed engineers using the mobile build tool ability to build atop unintended utilities. The player can now pick up inactive shock beacons after planting. Players can no longer ragdoll below the map and get stuck when revived on X11. Console fixes. The AI Trooper's firing sound no longer continues to play while reloading. Client no longer crashes on PS5 when a grenade explodes. DLC pack names now use a consistent format on Xbox. Ejection issue after death on Horde Boreas South map has been resolved for Xbox and PS5. Failed to connect to server message no longer appears incorrectly when a PS5 player joins a party. L2 and R2 buttons now function properly on the company tab for PS5. Objective selection now works correctly on the map for console players. The unnecessary rotate button no longer appears in the loadout screen on Xbox Series X. Addressed issue where the description of show text chat and gameplay settings would disappear. Added a UI prompt indicating detection of inferno bugs. Corrected English text display for the handling weapon stat in the loadout screen across all languages. corrected the Quartz plus R string and Horde mission notifications for Chinese. FedNet camera overlay now disappears correctly when zooming out or dying while changing view. Fixed an issue where the symbol Yai was not fully visible on the quick play filter screen in Russian. Fixed audio crackling issue on Boreas when playing on PS5. Fixed bug where pinging the mobile HQ on the TAC map would create a duplicate icon. Fixed mismatch in player ranks when viewed on different devices. Fixed spacing issue between two strings in simplified Chinese ZHCN. Fixed untranslated notification for failed FedNet camera secondary objective. Fixed untranslated text when player is using the FedNet camera. Leaving a private company with a pending join request now displays the correct prompt. Localized the begin FedNet broadcast secondary objective notification in match. Localized the begin FedNet field report secondary objective notification during matches. Localize the secondary objective pop-up for protect the cameraman during matches. Localize the secure the fob zone mission objective text. Resolved issue where some parts of the settings menu did not update when changing languages. Resolved issue where users could stack multiple exit game menus from the main menu. Spectator HUD now correctly displays names for all troopers. Suit palette tooltip text is no longer cut off. Text in the secondary navigation menu is now accessible via keybinds after mouse use. The image upscaling option now properly displays all available options for the user's device. The options menu no longer opens when pressing the S key on the select trooper screen. The trooper icon no longer appears incorrectly on the legs when mounting the twin MG emplacement. Translated, the smile. Pop-up from the FedNet camera. Translated the smile. Status icon used by the FedNet camera feature. Translated zoom menu texts for the FedNet camera. Trooper count assigned to an objective now updates immediately if another trooper exits the mission. Updated the description for the underbarrel experimental plasma launcher to support all languages. AF-10 Ping Ammo ZO6 no longer plays with a robotic voice effect. Being shot by gunners now correctly triggers pain audio. Crash dropship pilot voice line no longer plays twice. Dying while firing an automatic weapon no longer causes continuous firing sound on other clients. Explore music now plays correctly after defeating a tanker. Extraction background music now plays correctly when the team runs out of respawn tickets and no longer overlaps the end of round screen. Fixed an issue where the secure the fob zone or landing zone mission announcement would disappear. Grenade throw voice line no longer incorrectly plays when throwing a canister. Music now plays correctly upon reaching maximum threat level in ARC mode. Pain audio now plays properly when being hit by gunners. Plasma Grenadier's name no longer appears cut off when pinged. Scan grenade chirp sound effect volume has been balanced. Shooting audio no longer continues to play if a player dies while holding the fire button. The trooper icon no longer appears incorrectly on the legs when mounting the twin MG emplacement. Trooper voice lines are now properly muted when voice volume is set to 0%. The voice line for throwing grenades no longer incorrectly triggers when using canisters. Art and animation. Attack animation and projectiles of the gunner bug now stop simultaneously when a trooper is close. Light beacons MI. Cache no longer clips with the ground in the Hive Hunt APCM11 map. The missing back faces on rocks in Valaka has been resolved. Ore refineries A and C no longer appear overlapped in the M3B AAS Security Outpost 3 map. Sprinting animation no longer continues when crouching while sprinting. Stunned animation now correctly plays for the Tiger Elite when hit by the Morita XXX. Gameplay and general fixes. Outgoing reliable buffer overflow. Error no longer appears during matchmaking. Greatly reduced players being thrown out of bounds and stuck in death loops on respawn. Able to leave the map on the south side of Agni Prime has been fixed. ADS no longer breaks the camera upon respawn after dying. Agni Prime Blue Crystal now has correct collision for players and bugs. Agni Prime's invisible collisions near a refinery spawn location have been removed. Barrage animation no longer allows shooting while locked. Bugs are no longer able to clip in and out of the ground. Bugs can no longer hit multiple objects in a single attack. Canister liquid no longer remains in the weapon slot after respawning from bug-related death. Carried items now disappear correctly after being placed in their designated areas. Crashed supplies dropship no longer leaves behind lingering collisions. DXGI error device hung crash on Intel ARC cards has been resolved. Demolisher's barrage ability no longer removes movement speed debuff when holding a canister. Dropping a FedNet camera on a Carnage corpse no longer causes excessive blood spray. Engineer should now have a better time building items using the mobile build tool. Enemy camp objective no longer spawns in the lava area near the build zone on Agni Prime. Executing traders no longer consumes team respawn tickets. Flare smoke is now lit properly and no longer appears black at night. Highlight post-processing now functions correctly with upscaling enabled. Invisible collisions at the top of the tunnel in AAS hospital map have been removed. Invisible ore canisters destroyed in the refinery can no longer be picked up. Last first aid stim no longer locks players into holding nothing. Light beacon MI cache no longer clips into the ground on Hive Hunt CM11. Lumen HWRT no longer causes excessive brightness during Ash Storm Mutator on Agni. Melee attacks now deal correct damage to bugs when using the Prosthetic Servos perk. Mobile HQ decal no longer persists after construction is completed. Nav mesh gaps and tunnels on VPCM11 and VPCM11R maps have been fixed. Objective refineries A and C no longer overlap in M3BAS Security Outpost 3. Ore refinery on Agni Prime no longer spawns in an elevated and unintended position. Out-of-bounds death loop on AAS Valaka map has been fixed. Plasma Grenadier and Gunner bugs now burrow less frequently before attacking. Plasma Grenadier is no longer stuck in the fuel tank on AAS FD Pump 1. Plasma Grenadier now fully unburrows during emergence. Players that joined match with all players muted can now unmute others properly. Players can no longer repeatedly stab speed buff troopers without consuming charges. Players can no longer build short walls on top of fabricators. Primary fire magazine no longer causes underbarrel shotgun to refill when empty. Race conditions that disrupted game flow have been resolved. Rock detail on SM Mescor Massive Sandstone Cliff 10 now appears properly on Agni maps. Scan grenade chirp sound effect volume has been balanced. Shadow flickering during ADS with scoped weapons on Agni has been resolved. Tanker spray now deals correct damage without requiring perfect positioning. The first utility is no longer replaced when picking up a fourth utility while holding another item. Thermocharge detonator no longer floats after being melee attacked. The trooper can no longer deconstruct beacon utilities placed inside structures. The trooper icon no longer appears on the legs when using the twin MG emplacement. Trigger buttons no longer stop working after adding a friend from the pending tab. Underbarrel attachment no longer causes a crash when leaving a mission. Underbarrel shotgun no longer regains ammo improperly when emptying the main magazine. Unable to change firing modes while reloading has been fixed. Unable to build or interact after picking up turret ammo in place mode has been resolved. When colliding with the dropship edge while running, the skybox is no longer briefly visible on Agni. That's it for this huge 1.5 update. Have fun playing Starship Troopers Extermination. Thanks for watching the video. Stay tuned for more updates on games, gameplay of new and older releases, console hardware, and various art.